Over on MSNBC, they're really worried about whether or not they're going to be able to have their avocado toast. Because, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she likes her avocado toast, and all those Democrat lawmakers, they like their avocado toast. And what's going to happen if you can't get the guacamoles? I mean, you're going to have some kind of guacamole tax if you have all these tariffs, right? If all of these tariffs, as Donald Trump would like to see, really do go in, and he's talking 25% on the goods coming in from Mexico, unless Mexico figures out its little border situation and actually shows some good faith interest in cooperating with us, well, we're going to have what Chuck Todd calls the guacamole tax. I didn't even realize he was still on TV.
And by the way, just to simplify this, we're talking about tariffs, but let me make this pretty simple. If this slaps on, it's a guacamole tax. We get most avocados in this country come from Mexico. If you enjoy guacamole, be prepared to pay a higher tax for it if these tariffs go through.
Oh, gosh, what are we going to do? It's going to cost a lot for the guacamole. Oh boy. You know what? We'll live. Anyway, this is what Donald Trump put out just the other day. He was talking about how, look, we've got real problems here, obviously, with China vis-a-vis the fentanyl that's coming into the country. Real problems in terms of the border. We've got the fentanyl coming up through the border. Incidentally, it echoes back to sort of an inverted version of the Opium Wars. Remember back years ago, I mean, you're going all the way back to the Ming Dynasty. They got some sore memories of this one in China, when Westerners, primarily Europeans, would actually trade there in China, and they would bring in opium, which the population was addicted to, and they would continue to do it, even though the dynasties were saying, Mings were like, nope, don't bring it. And the Westerners did it anyway. It's kind of weird. It's like this inverted situation where now you've got fentanyl, which sadly too many Americans have been become addicted to, coming up. It's coming vis-a-vis China up through Mexico. So anyway, Donald Trump's like, okay, you're all on notice. We're talking 25% you're going to have to pay. And somebody noticed. One Trudeau up in Canada, he kind of noticed. I think he's going to try and do a little bit more vis-a-vis his border, which, by the way, he should. It's not as big a deal just yet, compared and contrast to Mexico, but hey, the Canadians get it.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do. One of the really important things is that we be all pulling together on this. The Team Canada approach is what works. That's where, putting aside partisanship, that's where I reached out immediately to Doug Ford to agree with him that we would have a First Ministers meeting this week to talk about the United States, talk with François Legault and some other premiers as well. There's work to do, but we know how to do it. J'ai eu un bon appel avec Donald Trump hier soir.
Okay. Yeah, he's speaking French. Reminds me, Kamala, she was raised in Montreal where they speak French. Just another reason why she just never, ever, ever would have worked. Okay, like we dodged a bullet, America. Ugh, lots to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. Anyway, down in Mexico, they're not receiving this news of the tariffs quite as well. Claudia Sheinbaum, who is a lefty, if there ever was a lefty, trying to say she's going to fight back with more tariffs. Good luck, lady. Good luck.
President Trump, neither threats nor tariffs are the way to address the migration phenomenon or drug consumption in the United States. It requires cooperation and reciprocal understanding of these great challenges. One tariff will be followed by another in response, and so on until we put common enterprises at risk. I am convinced that the economic frontier of North America, that the economic strength of North America lies in maintaining our trading partnership. That way we can remain more competitive with other economic blocs.
Okay, and what you see happening right now is everybody's going on to MSNBC and, some like Chuck Todd are complaining that avocado prices are going to go up and they can't have their avocado toast, and so much for guacamole. It's a guacamole tax. Others are saying, hey, you know, this is like Smoot-Hawley all over again, which is a reference to the tariffs in 1930s, which many say contributed to the discord in the world, thereby setting the groundwork for that World War II scenario. I'm just going to say, you know what? It's about time that somebody actually prioritized American jobs, our border, and American success. Because every other country has tariffs. You want to buy an American car or an American product, they're going to throw a bunch of tariffs on it. We don't do that to them. So in terms of reciprocity, hey, maybe we get a little bit too, right? You guys want to tax us, but we don't tax you. I don't think it's very fair. Meanwhile, yes, you are taking our jobs. And you are stealing, in many cases, our technology. And guess what? Our corporations are so dumb, they go along with it all because they don't care. They just care about quarterly earnings. CEOs just want to get more market share and get the cheapest labor and have the biggest market to sell their products. They're not thinking about what's actually healthy for the country and what's good for America in the long run. That's where the government's supposed to come in. But unfortunately, you get so much money tied up with the government and so many lobbyists that nobody's actually prioritizing the people. Certainly not the middle class. And this is why it's all shifting in real time. This is why David Plouffe, to quote him from earlier, the Kamala Harris campaign advisor, says, gosh, we can't win the blue states anymore. We can't win those battleground states because there is no one that actually buys what you and Kamala and Biden and whoever else are selling. That's the reality. You know, my former colleague over on Fox, David Asman, he put it well because he said, listen, Americans are willing to pay more for tomatoes. We'll pay more for tomatoes if it means security.
We've had 4 years of just talking, no action from the Biden administration. What has that produced? The biggest increase in immigration in American history, terrible problems with fentanyl from China, et cetera. We had one term of Trump already. We know what that produced. Action. It produced getting a clear trade, clear deal on migration with Mexico. Remain in Mexico worked. It cut migration down incredibly. We had a deal with China. It got them to buy more produce from the United States eventually and got a lot of tariff money. So we've been there before. We've done this, and Americans decided they would go with the trade-off of the fear of a little higher prices on Mexican tomatoes for the sake of getting rid of our terrible migrant crisis.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to pay more for tomatoes, and the avocado toast is going to be at more of a premium than it already was. And I think everybody's okay with it. I think they voted for this. You got it? So I was on Newsmax yesterday with one of my good friends over there and Rob Finnerty on his program. And this came up and he was citing Trump's art of the deal and saying, you know, maybe he's actually just asking for too much. And it's entirely possible. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it's a negotiation strategy. But what I would just remind everybody of is that even if he's shooting for the moon there, we ought to be willing to put our money where our mouth is. In other words, how important is security to you? I should ask this question. You can let me know in the chats, or you can let me know if you're watching this on playback. If you're not watching live, let me know in the comments below. Would you be willing to pay more for your avocados and more for your tomatoes if it meant having a secure border? Because this is the kind of stuff that Donald Trump can actually do right now. He's looking at the tools in his toolbook, and he's got some financial tools by way of tariffs that he could implement. And sure, okay, we would take a hit in the near term because prices would go up on some things. Eventually, a lot of economists argue that they would level out and you find new markets, et cetera. But I think that's something I'm willing, you know, and look, you know, maybe, you know, I have a different life than a lot of people, but I do think that the border security is of the utmost importance. And I think this is what people voted for. And this is what people want. And I do believe they're willing to take, heck, you know, higher prices. Listen, guys, I mean, aren't tomato prices already up significantly? We're already dealing with all kinds of crazy increases in inflation. I think if people got something for it, they'd feel a little bit better. Just saying. Speaking of inflation, one of the ways to best hedge inflation is through investing in gold. Go check out one of our great show sponsors here on the Trish Regan Show, American Heart for Gold, by going to trishlovesgold.com. Trish Loves Gold, you can't forget that, .com. You get up to $15,000 in free silver. you can call them at 1-844-495-1115, or you can just text Trish to 65532. Get out your phone right now. Text Trish, my name. Text it to 65532. That's what you put in the 2 box, 65532. Trish, my name, up to $15,000 in free gold.